Welcome to Crossing Cultures again. We're crossing cultures to the world of yoga with Chris Lopzak of Boundless Studio. In the video before that, Chris was telling us her story, how yoga found her and how she found yoga. And this is a little bonus, the cherry, like the cherry tree. We're putting some cherries on this project and this podcast. And I want Chris to tell us about what is yoga, who is it for? Because during the years I've been doing yoga too, there's been so much misconceptions. Let me give you some. Let's say it is only for women. It's only for people that are spiritual or yogi or weird people. It's for people that don't want to go to the gym, right? It's people that only want to breathe. Shall I go on? Can you go on, Saf?
You're right. There's so many misconceptions. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me back. It makes me laugh because a lot of people, they get an idea or they hear one small thing and they really don't know what yoga is. So first, let's just look at some basic definitions. Yoga itself is a word that describes a system. So yoga means to yoke or to unite. And they often call things yoga centers because that's supposed to be that it's teaching asana, the physical practice, pranayama, the breath work, meditation, the mental centering practices. So all of those things together are under this banner that's really helping somebody unite with their higher consciousness, or in the words of Indra Devi, reunite the consciousness with the heart. So it's kind of bringing our head space and heart space into harmony. Yoga as a philosophical system is secular and can be done by anybody. So some of the things that are confusion is, oh, well, you have to be this certain kind of spirituality. You can be anything. If you're Jewish, be Jewish. If you're a Christian, you're a Christian. There's no sense. This is not a religion. This is a physical and philosophical practice. Now, because it was born out of India, many of those practitioners were, they were multiple different religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, many, many different cultures were practicing. But the philosophical practice is different than the religious. So they are not one and the same. A Christian can practice yoga and Christianity simultaneously. A Buddhist can practice the yoga practice and Buddhism simultaneously. You could be an atheist. You could be secular. It doesn't matter what that part of your practice is. You can still breathe more, connect with your nervous system, clear your mind so that you have more clarity to your thought process. And you can work on your physical health, which helps you connect deeper with who you are. So that's the overall idea of yoga. Is in a lot of the texts about yoga, they'll say yoga is to help you clear the patterns of your consciousness. In other words, from the dawning of time, our head has been a minefield of overthinking. And how do we clear that space so that we have more calm, more connection to ourselves and to one another? That's the heart of yoga. What most people come to a yoga center for is the physical practices, the asanas. And they range from they're on a spectrum of soft, gentle, nervous system response. I'm on pillows and props. I'm breathing, what we call restorative styles, or really targeted stretching, yin yoga type styles, to very, very vigorous practices that would kick the behind of most people from the gym because they're really stout. They have almost an idea of like push-ups and this kind of thing, and vinyasa practices where we lower from planks to low push-ups and then push yourself back up. It's a constant moving practice, very physical, very strength building. I think that's one of the main misconceptions, that people think yoga is just stretching your hamstrings. It can be that, but it can also be a very rigorous Hatha yoga. That word hatha actually means vigorous practice. A lot of people thought that might scare people, so they started saying, well, it's more like sun and moon coming together in a union. There's a lot of things that help us unite in the practice, but the actual word is about bringing a vigor to the body and the mind to help make you better. It's kind of putting yourself in the pressure cooker to, evolve into something else.
Now, I know that every time I come to yoga, I feel a better person. I feel that the day is being better. I feel more aligned with my health, my physical and my mental and my spirit.
Well, any sort of physical exercise is going to help raise your endorphins, help you feel better in your body. When you practice, you are releasing, or you're letting go of the stress and tension. You are activating your nervous system. You're building up better circulation, better health. All of those things lead you to feeling better in your body and feeling better in your mind. So we also look at it from two different ways. We work the physical body to help the mental body, and then practices like breath work and meditation go from mind back to body. Because when the mind's a mess, sometimes it's hard to really get connection to your body. So we approach it from both sides of the spectrum to help you get a little more in touch with self.
And who is it for? Some people, one of the myths that I was saying, oh, it's only for women. But there are many men in the classes, I see.
Well, that is one of the biggest myths because the truth is the asana system, as we know it now, was created by men for men, and they actually didn't believe that women were strong enough to practice it. Women were given certain poses to help them mostly sit and breathe and do meditation. But a lot of the more vigorous styles, they were all, up until even more recently, most of the teachers were men. And they would teach these styles to other men. They was supposed to help kind of burn the energy out of young boys and keep them out of trouble and really help them get in touch with their mind and with themselves. So this was actually a male dominated practice until it came over to the US. And at that point, there was a cultural shift. More women started gravitating to the practices. In the world, women were being allowed to do more things, getting more in touch with activities. I mean, remember, years ago, women were not allowed to run in the Boston Marathon. The first woman who actually ran in the marathon snuck in. And the owners of the contest were trying to pull her off of the race because they didn't want women involved, didn't believe that we were capable enough, strong enough. So it's very funny to me when people say, oh, it's a practice for girls, because it was developed for men to get strong and malleable and powerful. It's for men and for women. I forget whether it was Iyengar or Patabi. I don't want to confuse which teacher said it, but I think it was Iyengar who said, old person can do yoga, young person can do yoga. Flexible person can do yoga, inflexible person can do yoga. Sick person can find a form of yoga to do. Strong person can do yoga. You know who can't do yoga? A lazy person.
You answered a few of my questions now, all in one, right?
Mhm.
So even if you think you're not flexible, if you think you're too old, if you've never done it, you have an injury. I remember when I started here, I told Chris, oh, I have an injury here. There are so many things I cannot do. She stopped me immediately. Says, don't start putting limitations on yourself. Just do it, progress, and just like push yourself a little bit every day, and you will know how you get
Mhm.
there.
And to be clear, we're not saying that if you have an injury, jump into an advanced class, right? We start progressively. You wouldn't go into the gym and pick up a 500-pound bar if you've never picked up the bar. You want to say, how much does the bar itself weigh before I start putting weight on it? It's the same thing with your body weight. We give you options. We have different tools of the practice that we work with to make things easier until you feel more comfortable. And then we add on. We have classes that teach you the basic forms, and then classes that get progressively faster and a little more intense. So there's a broad range. One of the things I would recommend is if you're like, I'm not sure where to begin, that's usually people's
That was
question.
my next question.
Yeah. If you're comfortable, not a lot of injuries, able bodied, we have plenty of classes that are labeled beginners. Yes, that's the spot for you.
Beginners.
Yeah. And if you're an athletic beginner and you're used to a lot of other movement, you still need the terminology, understanding the positions. You may move up to a level 1 or a level 2 class more quickly. Or you may say, okay, I've got some bigger injuries going on. If they're modest things, beginners classes are still the place to start. Now, if you've got more significant things going on, that would be a good point to send an email and maybe have a conversation and really talk to me or one of the other teachers and say, okay, what's a plan that's going to work for you? Sometimes we've done some private sessions with people to teach them how to modify and understand their particular injury so that they know what to do when they go to a regular class. Or they might need something, a more supportive class. And we have very different styles that we could send somebody to say, this is where we want you to start. If that's feeling comfortable and you're starting to feel better, just like you did, you're like, okay, I feel like I'm getting stronger. And then you came to me. I was like, yeah, let's level you up. Let's go to that next phase. And now you're taking a lot of the different classes on the
Yeah,
schedule.
I only know that when I feel great after a yoga class, I feel in balance, and that's something that only in a gym or any other exercise doesn't provide you. The balance, the strength and the balance, internal and external.
Mm.
Tell us how different it is from doing yoga in a gym that I would never do, but it's not bad, but or in a yoga
Well, I
studio.
don't want to down yoga in a gym because I started teaching in gyms and it was great. I met amazing people. I connected to a lot of students, but there depends on the fitness facility you're in because there are some places that have an absolutely separate room for those kinds of practices. And you're going in and you're getting an amazing yoga class in the gym setting. It can happen. My experience of teaching in gyms, though, is a lot of gyms have a fitness room and it's often cold because they often have like step aerobics classes in there and the air conditioner's running and you don't feel as comfortable in your joints because it's too cold. It doesn't have, you get people in there running in on their sneakers, but then you're trying to put your mat on the ground. Like we don't wear shoes in the studio. These floors are really, really cleaned so that you're putting your mat down on the floor. It's a really hygienic environment, so it's a little bit different. The ambiance is different. In a gym, when I taught, sometimes I would hear people grunting using the weight machines in the room next door. And we're like, take a big breath in and you hear, it's like, okay. And, there's beauty in that. Like if you have an opportunity and that works, it's like,
Better than nothing.
wherever you can access it is a great place to get it. So everybody's got different time constraints, financial constraints, things going on. But a lot of times in gyms, they're very specific. I remember when I taught in gyms, it was, they just wanted like a turn and burn class. We want you to just teach a flow class, get them kind of yoga fitness. I think that's changed a little bit. They're giving teachers more freedom. But in the studios, you're going to get a little bit more than that. We have consent cards here. If you want hands on adjustments or you don't want hands on adjustments, you can just flip it to a yes or no. But there's a lot more teachers one-on-one personalized instruction. It's a more meditative atmosphere. Whether the class is a more challenging, difficult class or a softer class, there's always the space and time left at the beginning and the end to come into some of the softer practices. You're never going to come in and get a 45-minute meditation. That's going to be a meditation class. But you'll get little tastes of those other parts of the practice that sometimes you don't get in the gym because they're trying to focus more on the physical.
And it's more than physical, as we know. So somebody that starts, okay, we're ready. If you're not lazy, and if you're lazy, go beyond your laziness and try it. It's so good for you. I always say it. Many people nowadays have anxiety. What are some of the benefits and how to make the most of your yoga practice and how to do it when you want to start? Let's say you listen to this and you say, okay, I'm going to do it. How do you do that?
Well, anxiety is an interesting thing because when we come into the yoga practice, the first thing we do, whether it's seated or lying down, is get connected to your breath. Because one of the things that happens with anxiety is your nervous system gets triggered and there's a cortisol response, your heart rate goes up, your breathing is short and shallow. And at the beginning of every class, there'll always be a few moments where we connect to the breath. And as you learn to connect to your breath, you get tools to actually notice when you're moving into an anxious state and how to calm it down. That said, I also want to be very invitational to you because a lot of people are struggling with anxiety, actually get anxiety about taking their first class. Many of you may want to try something, but I'm nervous because the internal judgments happen. Oh, will everybody be better than me? I've never done this before. What happens if I'm not good at it? You can't be bad at yoga because this is not, we're not taking Instagram photos here. This is not a competition. This is a place where everybody can come and work at their own level on self. I am so blessed that not only do I have really welcoming and amazing teachers here alongside me that I just absolutely love, but the community here has adopted such a place like they, you walk in the door, they are going to welcome you. There's no clickiness here. Everybody is welcome on their mat because we've all been there. Every single one of us is human, and we've all had that day that something doesn't feel right. We've all had minor injuries. It's called life. I'm a yoga teacher. I've been doing this, going on 30 years now, long time. But, I have had days my body's felt great and times I didn't. I had an eye injury about a year ago, and I had to step way back from the physical side of my practice for almost a year. And now I'm in that like There were things I used to be able to do that I can't do right now. But that's okay because I know who I am. I know how I can teach. I know how I'm comfortable. And I've learned to overcome my own anxiety with breathing, with practice. So, but I think sometimes the hardest step is just to step into the door for the first time because it's new.
How
We,
should you do it if you're new? How many times a week? What kind of things
Mhm.
should you do? Let's begin as a starter's kit.
Okay, so I would say if you're stepping in the door here, it also depends on what else you're doing. Like we have a lot of people in the community. There's a huge running community here. They all get together and I always see them. They always gather in the parking lot. They go for big runs. A lot of them are looking for a complementary practice. Hey, I know I'm stressing my body out in this repetitive motion. I'm running or I'm a big cycler. I might pick 2 days a week that I'm coming in, early in the week and later in the week, or one day on the weekend, one day during the week, and I'm balancing out as a complement to the other physical practices. Maybe you're a weightlifter and you're like, I love my gym practice. We're not here to take that away from you. I'm multidisciplinary approach about all things. I'm also a rock climber and a hiker. Those things are going to give me a different sense of how my body moves. So it depends. Are you looking to complement? Now, if you're looking like I don't really have any sort of fitness routine, I would recommend starting with 2 to 3 days a week. You can always add on. A lot of people, and they do it at the gym too, right? New Year's resolution, I'm going to go 6 days a week, an hour a day. And then you're like,
For
I'm
1 week, you do it.
yeah, I do it for 3 days and then I'm paying for a gym membership for 6 months that I've never used. I would invite you to try and whatever you do, pick something you can do consistently. If it's 1 day a week, start with 1 day a week. If it's, 1 day a week and doing, a few things at home, great. If you can commit to 2 days a week, that's great. And eventually you can build up. And I mean, that's how I started. I was working a lot. I was taking one class a week. And then eventually I signed up for two. My journey changed. I couldn't get enough of it. I was practically living at the studio. And that's why my teacher was like, it's time for you to become a teacher.
The slower, the better, because you
Uh-huh.
can become consistent
Yeah.
and see the benefits in you. Now, let's talk about a person that's already in the studio or a yoga practitioner. How can they make the most of their practice? Because many people, we don't make the most of what we're doing.
I would remember that why we're here is not just to get that 1 hour a week. So much of what we do, we can teach you little things that you can use in your day to day. Many of you work in an office and you're like, forward head, rounded shoulders, my back, my neck, they're always hurting. It's like, how can I focus on my posture during the week? How can I take the little stretches that I learn in the studio and do a little bit, sometimes 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day? Consistency over time is more important than big chunks. So if you did like one practice a month, but you did 4 hours, you'd be exhausted. You might learn something, but you wouldn't get as much out. If you do 1 hour a week, you get more. If you break that into small chunks, you're going to get even more. Consistency is really important because some people are like, oh, I tried yoga once. I don't know that it worked for me. But that's like saying I weightlifted once and I didn't get any
Where
stronger.
are my muscles, right?
Yeah. All of these practices, physical practice, mental practice, the word is practice. It's like I didn't just suddenly launch into yoga completion. It is a consistency of practice. If you want to become a good runner, you got to practice and do your progressive training to get better at running. So it's the same thing with yoga. We all start at the beginning and then we incrementally build ourselves up.
And how are some of the benefits that you have seen in people or people can gain from practicing?
Obviously, functional range of motion. That is one of our biggest things here. Is not just flexibility for flexibility's sake, because whether or not you can touch your toes really doesn't make you a better human or a happier person. But can I move in my body comfortably? A lot of people are really surprised at how much focus we have on strength building, that there's this myth that we only go to yoga to stretch. Now, there are some styles, like yin yoga is targeted deep stretch, and that is often really good for people who are struggling with flexibility, who might need more time in a pose to go in a more gentle way. For anyone, we're going to build things up incrementally. Yoga is strength building. It is flexibility training. It is functional range of motion training. It is breath awareness. One of the things that really blew my mind when I started practicing yoga was noticing my emotional reactions. Oh, I'm really frustrated in this pose. This pose is making me angry. Well, why am I so angry? I chose to do this pose. Like, did I get angry when I'm struggling to lift the weight? It's like, well, where's my frustration level? Where's my sense of perfectionism? How can I enjoy this experience? Oh, where do I give up? Where could I know I could do 2 more reps, but my body's like, nah, not today. Well, could I try one more? Yes, I could. Or maybe my tendency is to plow through, but I'm going to allow myself to back up today. I really was amazed by the subtle inquiry about how I showed up in my practice, really allowed me to analyze how I thought about things, and then started to observe how that translated into my day to day experience when I'm not in a yoga pose, but I'm just in a conversation or a challenging situation. How is my emotion showing up, and how do I respond rather than react?
Thank you so much. Now you know a little bit more about yoga. Yoga benefits you not only physically, but also the way you approach things and the way you approach life and your emotions. You process your emotions. Is there anything else you want to add?
We just love to have fun. It doesn't always have to be so serious. Come in, have a little play, connect with really great people, and I really look forward to getting to meet you.
Yeah, and we'll see you on the mat. Okay, thank you so much. If you have any questions, put them in comments and follow us and share because this is a wonderful information about what yoga is with debunking the myths and what it can do for you. Thank you, Chris, for being with
Thank
us and
you.
for all your information. Remember, in the other video, we have Chris's story, how she found yoga and how yoga found her. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the studio or in the gym, but on the mat.